Alright, let's go ahead and click on the jump pad. So we're going to choose the plus button, go to our default set, and we're going to go down to the jump pad option here. Alright, so jump pad has a interstate, an idle, and a thumbnail, and an audio. I'm going to click on select folder here. So if you click on the jump pad, and then scroll down in your tile types, and on the tile type, choose jump pad. Tile description, we'll go ahead and fill this in, and we'll talk about it here. So this is going to be a jump pad. Allows players to jump. The basic idea behind the jump pad is that when a player moves onto it, or an item moves onto it, an object, you can actually use it to apply force to the player to move them upwards. Alright, we're going to use the thumbnail here. And in terms of the offset, this really depends on the animation you're wanting to assign. You may have it where they walk behind an object that then launches them out, and or an object where they go in front of and they see it. I'm going to do this one where it's actually, we're going to say in front of the player. So we'll move it to 2. I'm going to slow my animation down to about 6. Alright. Now, the collider right here, you could do a collider, and you could say that, as a for instance, you might have a platform, and then they walk up the platform and onto the top of a jump pad object or item. That could be the case for it, so it really just depends on how you want to approach it on that part. For this one, we're going to have it so the player can walk smoothly between it, so there's no, and they can also jump from the bottom up to the top of it so they can get to it. So we'll turn colliders off. The repeat, we're going to clamp on this one just because the image is at the bottom. Want to make sure there's nothing that gets up there on that little top part. Alright. Now if we go down to animations, click on the tile animations rollout. And inside of here, we just want to place in the options for it. So we're going to say there is a idle state. So we'll say for the start, and again, the start could be something altogether unique if you wanted it to be something that if it's a one-time animation that comes out of the floor, a whole thing happens with the jump pad image gets created there, and then goes into a looping cycle. We're just going to do a loop for both these. The trigger, when it comes to the trigger enter, this is where we want to say on trigger enter, we just want to play the InterAnimation. Okay. The stay animation, we actually don't really want to put anything inside of the loop here. If there was something, you could make an actual animation that's going to go on it, but I'm going to take on the exit. The moment it gets done on the exit, we're just taking it right back to the idle. You can do all 5 states unique. You don't have to actually do like these 2 only. You can have it so that once it enters, it winds up doing an animation that goes up. If the player is still on it, maybe it stays in the up state, and then once the player exits, then it retracts back down. Alright, now when we have these, something just to kind of take note of is that the animation itself when it's playing, now notice trigger enter means that the moment I touch it, the animation is going to occur. And we're going to look here in a second, but the trigger settings, you can actually set up a certain way so that you can have not just the animation play immediately, but wait until a button is pushed. Let's go ahead and add the tile audio. We're going to add the audio clip to it. So go to our audio file and go to the jump wave. And we'll add that wave file to the jump pad. So I'm going to go to my tile audio, and then so on the trigger enter, we'll say play the jump pad. And this is one of the reasons why labeling them, for instance, the audio tile is just audio, but if you get a lot of them, you definitely want to make sure you label them where it's the image you're using. Alright, so now we have the animation and the audio set up. We want to do the trigger settings, so we're going to enable this. Based on the size of the image, based on the detail of the image, if you don't want the player to, if you want it to be an auto jump, but you don't want it to happen immediately, you may want to actually adjust the size of your trigger box. So for instance, on our trigger position rotation scale, we may want to say that the scale top is actually going to take it down to about maybe 2, so somewhere around here. You could take in the left side and the right side, and you'd want to test it just to be sure it's not too little or too much. So then it becomes a box a little bit like that, so that the player can get into the frame before it actually happens. Alright, and then also just so that you can see it in terms of the function of it, if we were to set it up so that we said by trigger and input, what we're saying is that the player can actually, and then this one, because this is off, there's a autoplay animation. That means that if I had this on and I walked by it, the animation would automatically play even though I haven't pushed the button. But if I have it off, that means that I can walk over it and it's not going to trigger until I actually push the input interact button, and then the animation would play and the player would jump. So a little bit more control right here, but that's also something you'd have to explain to your user, is that this isn't just a walk over and jump on it type of jump pad. Alright, so we're going to just do the trigger only on that part. And I think we've got everything else set up there. Yeah, okay. So the next one we'll do, we'll just walk through the jump pad settings so you can see the options inside of it.